Hello dear learners, welcome again. In the previous video, dear students, I have discussed about what is production function and what are the relevant concepts related to production, that is total product, average product, marginal product, and how do we calculate these different concepts. So dear students, if you have not watched that video, you can watch it. The link of the video I'll be giving in the description box or maybe in the I button. So dear students, in this video I'm going to discuss about law of variable proportion. This law is very popular and very important from the production point of view. For any enterprise, for any business, you need to produce before selling, before supplying the market. You need to produce something. So how one can produce the quantity as per the demand? There is certain limitation of production. So in the short period, some factors are variable factor and the other factors are fixed factors. So there is a combination of variable and fixed factor. So in this law talks about this combination of variable proportions between fixed and variable factors. So dear students, if you have still not subscribed my channel, you can subscribe it. This is the channel link, and please do comment, please do like. If you find something interesting, if you find something questionable, you ask question. So dear students, let us move on to understand the law of variable proportion. What is this law? You can see here the production function with one variable input. This is our assumption, that the production function with one variable input, assuming all other factors, all other inputs as fixed factor, only one variable input. So for the sake of simplicity. And what is this law? How we define it, how we state it? The law states that as we increase quantity of only one input, say for example labor, keeping other inputs fixed, total product, that means the production, initially increases at an increasing rate and then at a decreasing rate, and finally it increases at a negative rate, or you can call it start declining. So this is the statement of law. Whenever you are asked with law of variable proportion, first of all you need to write this statement of the law of variable proportion. And as you know, dear student, this law is valid in the short run. So it is a short-term production function. This is one of the assumption of this law, you can call it. This is the first assumption. First assumption was there is fixed and variable factor in a certain proportion. The second one is it is relevant in the short period. Then it shows the maximum output a firm can produce when only one of its inputs can be varied, can be changed, and other input remain fixed, which is shown here with the help of this equation. Q is the output and F stands for function of L is labor and K, and above it there is a bar, which means K is constant. K is the capital machinery equipment, and only thing which you can change in the short period, that is the labor. That is our assumption in this law of variable proportion. So when you increase the labor, to what extent you can increase your output, in what fashion you can increase your production, that we are trying to understand with the help of this law of variable proportion. And one more assumption is that is level of technology as given and unchanged. Level of technology cannot change every day, cannot change every month. So in a short period, that is in economics we assume as 1 year period, less than 1 year or up to 1 year period, this technology remains constant or unchanged. Though in some of the sector, maybe IT industry, you find that the technology is changing very frequently, maybe monthly or even at times weekly there are change. But for the sake of simplicity and in general, you can assume that technology as constant. So dear student, this is our statement of the law. You can see this you must memorize while if it is asked in the examination. And secondly, these assumptions that it is relevant for short period and the fixed and variable factor are combined in a certain proportion and technology remains constant. So dear student, let us move on to understand it with the help of a numerical example. So here you can see in the table, first table we have labor. You can see labor for 1 to up to 9 labor, it is shown here, and this labor is combined with a fixed level of technology or the capital, okay, which is fixed factor, and it is the labor only which can be changed. And in the second you can see this is total product, and we have the marginal product, that is the increment of product as a result of increase in labor, and this is average product. And here in this column we have the stages of production. So dear student, as the quantity of variable factor is increased with other fixed factor, marginal product and average product of the variable factor will eventually decline. So let us see how it happens. So with the first unit of labor, you can see what is the total product. Total product is 20. So average product will also be 20, like this total product and divided by the variable factor, that is labor. So this is 20, and since this is the beginning, so marginal product is as nil. Moving on to the second labor, there was certain increase in demand, so the producer hired one more labor to produce more, to supply more in the market. When second labor is hired, dear student, you can observe here the total product increase from 20 to 50. So 50 minus 20, this is 30. So this 30 is nothing, the marginal product. As a result of increase of the second labor, how much of increment in output is there? That is 30. Whereas the average product is 25. That is 50 divided by 2, you will get 25. Again, there is an increase in demand. The response is good in the market for your product. So the producer, in trying to increase the output, will hire third labor. When third labor is hired along with the fixed capital, the total product increased from 50 to 40. This time you can see the marginal product increased by 40. That means the 90 minus 50, you have 40 as increment in the total production at this stage because of this third labor, whereas 90 divided by 3, you will get 30. So what do we observe here in this first stage? That your marginal product is also increasing. It increased from nil to 40, and our average product is also continuously rising from 20 to 25, 25 to 30. That's why we call it that increasing return. The production is increasing at an increasing rate, because you can see here 20, 25, 30, the rate of increase is increasing, and this also marginal product increasing at an increasing rate. Now, as per the demand in the market, the producer feels that the producer needs to produce more. So fourth unit of labor is again further hired. With the increase in the fourth labor, you can see again there is an increase in total production from 90 to 120. But this time what do we observe? 120 minus 90, you can see it is 30. Earlier it was 40. The third labor was contributing 40, whereas this fourth labor is contributing 30. Though there is continuous rise in total product, but marginal product has gone down from 40 to 30, whereas the average product remains constant, and the flatness is there in the curve. We will see with the help of diagram also in the next PPT. So 120 divided by 4, you will get 30. Similarly, if there is good response of the product, fifth labor will be hired. With the hiring of fifth worker along with the fixed factor, the production increased to 140. This time the marginal product is 20, whereas average product 140 divided by 5, you will get 28. Again, if there is good response in the market, the sixth labor is hired, and with the hiring of sixth worker, you can see total product further increased to 150. This time you see the change in the total product is minor. Earlier it increased by 20, but now with the hiring of sixth worker, this particular sixth worker is contributing only 10 extra unit. Okay, whereas the average product has gone down from 28 to 25. Further, if there is demand, the producer would like to produce more and will try to increase the labor, because fixed factor he cannot increase, right? So the producer can increase only the variable factor, which is labor here in this case. So further, seventh worker is hired, but with the hiring of this seventh worker, what do we observe? There is no change in the total product. Total product remains at 150 level, and which means the seventh worker is contributing nothing. The contribution of seventh worker is 0, whereas the average product further gone down from 25 to 21.5. So if you see the trend here, it is continuously declining, both marginal product as well as the average product. Marginal product 30. So this is the point wherein both marginal product and average product equalizes each other, or you can call it the point where average product and marginal product equalizes. That is the beginning of this second stage of production. Okay, that is diminishing returns to scale set in. But one thing is clear here: in the second stage, average product will be greater than the marginal product. Okay, whereas in the first stage, marginal product will be greater than average product. You can easily see here continuously, this is the point 25, this is 30, this is 30 here, this is 40. Okay, so this way you can see this seventh worker is the worker wherein in fact actually the producer should stop hiring further workers. This seventh worker is contributing nothing. In fact, it is a burden, or it enhances the cost of production. But still, if there is more demand in the market and the producer try to make up it by hiring more workers, say eighth worker is hired, with the hiring of eighth worker, you see what is happening. The impact is there is a decline in total product from 150 to 130, which means it is not only contributing nothing, but it is disturbing the whole environment in the industry and the floor, and there is a negative marginal product, and the average product further gone down to 16.3. Further, if the producer hires ninth worker, the total product further declines to 100 from 130. So this is negative. So the point wherein marginal products become negative, that is the third stage of production. So what was our statement? Statement was, as you increase the labor, the total product increases at increasing rate in the beginning, in the first stage, and in the second stage total product increases at decreasing rate, and in the third stage, if still you hire more workers with the given amount of capital, there will be a negative return. That's why, therefore, the law of variable proportion is also called as law of diminishing marginal returns. Dear students, I hope that you have understood how this calculation is done, and how we, with the help of this table, you can show this law of variable proportion. Now let us understand it with the help of a diagram, which is very important. Usually when asked in the examination, you are supposed to show it with the help of table as well as this diagram. Even if you show it with any one of them, that is fine, but it is always advisable to use both diagram as well as table. So you can see here in this diagram, on y-axis we have total output, and on x we have labor, and this is our total product curve, which is increasing continuously, then it becomes flat, and then it starts declining, as you have seen in the previous table itself. And in the second part of this diagram, you can see the stage 1. In a stage 1, your marginal product is greater than average product. In the second stage, your marginal product is less than average product, and in the third stage, the marginal product is less than 0 and average product remains positive, right? So you can see same thing, which we have seen with the help of table. It is shown with the help of this diagram. And one thing is clear, dear students, you should draw this diagram very meticulously, properly, otherwise you will commit mistakes. So do practice it. You can see here, this your marginal product should cut at the maximum point of average product, which will be a turning point. Until here we have the stage 1, and when this average product and marginal product equalizes each other, that is the beginning of stage 2. Okay, and when marginal product reaches to 0, your total product will become maximum. At the point where marginal product is 0, your total product will be maximum, and after that total product will start declining. You can easily see here, and marginal product becomes negative, whereas your average product always remains positive. So these are certain relation which you must show it. Now the question is, a rational producer or rational firm, in which stage it should produce, whether first stage, second stage, third stage. So it is highly unlikely, or it is irrational to produce in the third stage, because total product is declining, your marginal product is negative, and your average product is also declining. So this is technically inefficient condition. You can see negative return is technically inefficient stage of production. No wise and rational producer will be operating in the third stage. But in which stage, whether the producer should produce in the first stage or second stage, in fact, the producer always would like to produce in the second stage of production, because in the first stage still there is a chance to increase the total product, and total product does not reach to the maximum point. Total product reaches to the maximum in the end of this second stage of operation. So the producer will always try to produce in the second stage, but at what point, this point, or this point, that depends on the relative price of factors of production, what is the cost of the labor which you are going to change, how much contribution that is making, and you have to do the cost benefit analysis. On that you will be deciding at which point of the second stage. It is clear that a wise producer, a rational firm, will produce in the second stage, but what point, that is decided on the basis of relative prices of inputs which are used for the sake of production. So dear student, I hope that you have understood the concept. Still, if you have any doubt, any query, you can comment in the comment box, you can post your queries. So moving on to the next part, why these three different stages of production, what are the cause of these stages, why in the first stage there is increasing return, why in the second stage there is a decreasing return, and third stage there is a negative return. So if you look at the increasing return, dear students, the first important factor is indivisibility of factors. The fixed factors are indivisible. Those machinery and equipment has particular fixed size. Suppose a machine is there, any machine you take, for example, that has a certain size, and that's for that particular machine you need to buy that particular machine to start the business. Okay, so the fixed factor is indivisible. That's why there is increasing return with the increase in variable factor in the first stage or increasing returns stage. Okay, second one is when you combine with the fixed factor more and more variable factor in the initial stage, that enhances the efficiency of production. The productivity increases. Why productivity increases? Because of division of labor and specialization. When you have in the initial stages few labor, you cannot do division of labor. You cannot assign a fixed task to one worker and the other worker other tasks. So one worker is doing multiple tasks. But when you increase the production and when you hire more and more workers, you can divide the task, divide the work among different group of workers, and the division of labor take place, and that result into specialization. Because when you do a certain task again and again, you become expert. So because of specialization, because of division of labor, this increasing returns to a variable factor occur in the first stage. Then fixed factor and fixed cost, that is rent, wages, abundant fixed factor relative to variable factor. In the initial stage, in the first stage, the fixed factor are abundant in relation to the variable factor. Variable factors are less and fixed factors are more in comparison. So as you increase the production, as you hire more workers to produce more, these costs are spread out among the more number of output. Then that's why there is increasing return. And the last reason or cause of the increasing return is before the point of optimum combination. That labor and capital ratio, that optimum has not still reached. That's why there is increasing return. Okay, so these 5 are important cause of operation of increasing returns to a variable factor. Moving on to the second part, that is why there is a law of diminishing return or diminishing returns to a variable factor. It happens because keeping the fixed factor constant, when marginal product diminishes with the increase in the quantities of variable factor, it is called as law of diminishing returns. At times in the examination you will find the question is asked, explain law of diminishing returns. So it is talking about this second stage, or you can explain the whole with the help of the diagram itself. So from cost point of view, if you see, just a second, dear students. Yeah, from cost of point of view, it is the law of increasing cost. In this second stage, what happens? The cost increases, because the productivity actually declines, because marginal cost increases with the increase in variable factor. Okay, so what happens? You need to incur more cost in this stage. So why it happens? So what is the reason? The reason is very clear: inadequate fixed factor in relation to the variable factor. After a certain point, you can see after third worker in the table, previous table, as I told you, that the contribution to the fourth worker, contribution of fifth worker, sixth worker, keep on declining, and seventh worker is contributing nil. If you can check the table, right? So that caused decline in both average product as well as marginal product. Why it happens? Because of inadequate fixed factor in the second stage, because the worker becomes comparatively more than the available fixed factor. And then in the second stage, you cross the optimum proportion of fixed and variable factor because of indivisibility of fixed factor. The fixed factor is indivisible. Say for example, in the table you have seen that, say 4 unit of machine was there, and for 4 unit of machine, 6 unit of labor was the optimum combination, 6:4. So that already reached, and after that what happens, it will give negative return, or actually from third onwards only it is giving the negative less and less return. Okay, that's what the reason. When you achieve the optimum combination, after that, if you hire more workers, say now 7:4, because this 4 is fixed, so 7 or 8, that will result into less and less contribution to the total product. And the other important factor of this second stage of production or law of diminishing return is imperfect substitutability of the factors. Actually, even the variable factor, you are hiring more and more workers, even the workers within workers, all workers are not perfect substitute of each other, right? That is the problem. All the workers have different skill set, different efficiency and productivity, so the workers or the labor is imperfect substitute of each other. So that is the reason. Moving on to the third stage quickly, causes of third stage of production, that is negative return, law of diminishing return or diminishing returns or to a variable factor, that is the you can call it or you can just a second, it should be in fact the condition of negative return, you can call it diminishing or negative return, that third stage, that is negative return. Okay, there is a little mistake, I think. So it is law of diminishing return or negative return. In the third, we are talking about third stage of production. So in third stage of, what are the causes why it occurs? Excessive variable factor relative to fixed factor. As I told you, after the 6th worker, the contribution of 7th worker is 0, 8th worker again negative, 9th worker further negative values, like that if you check the table. So excessive variable factor in relation to fixed factor, that's why the negative return sets in. Then substitution of all factors is not available. You may get substitution for some of the factors, but some factors you don't get any proper substitute, that's why negative returns occur. Like actually the manager or certain specialized workers don't have substitute, so that is also one of the cause of negative return. Then maximum optimum level of production has already achieved. When you have already achieved maximum output, in this example 150, so beyond that it is going to decline only. Okay, certain factors have become fixed factor, though which cannot be increased, and certain factors become scarce also. Among the variable factor also there is a scarcity of skillful workers, that's why also there is a negative returns. So dear students, these are some of the causes of stage of negative returns. So dear students, whenever you are asked this law of variable proportion, first of all you have to write the statement of the law, then the assumptions of the law, and then you need to explain it with the help of table and the diagram. And certainly at the end you must mention in which stage the producer or the entrepreneur should produce. Certainly it is the second stage, but at what point of the second stage, that depends on relative price of factor inputs. Okay, and finally the causes of each stages of production, why it occurs, that we have discussed just now. So thanks a lot dear students. If you have still any doubt, any query, you can comment in the comment box.